When you look at stars on a clear night, you are looking back in time. Because light takes time to travel, the objects you see in deep space appear as they did millions of years ago, rather than as they are in the present. Looking back 13.8 billion years brings us to the very beginning, the Big Bang, a singular explosion that set the entire universe in motion. In a corner of the Milky Way galaxy, Earth formed about 4.5 billion years ago. It began as a lifeless, molten mass, covered in swirling gases and cooling magma. This early atmosphere was completely devoid of oxygen. Instead, a heavy mix of water vapor, methane, and ammonia covered the surface, hammered by intense UV radiation from the sun. Every complex living thing today traces its history back to this impossibly hostile starting point. This raises a foundational question. How did self-replicating life actually emerge from a soup of toxic chemicals? In 1953, S.L. Miller ran a landmark experiment to test a theory called chemical evolution, the idea that organic molecules could form from inorganic constituents. Miller simulated the conditions of early Earth by sealing methane, ammonia, and water vapor in a flask and introducing electric sparks to mimic ancient lightning storms. After several days at 800 degrees Celsius, he observed the spontaneous formation of amino acids, the essential chemical building blocks used to build biological proteins. While we still do not know exactly how the first metabolic capsule of life arose, these results proved that the complex organic chemistry of biology can assemble itself under the right environmental pressures. Once those first cells appeared and began to divide, a new mechanism took over. Charles Darwin identified this process as the engine driving all biological diversity on Earth. Darwin concluded that because resources are limited and populations vary in their characteristics, the environment dictates which traits will survive to produce the next generation. One of the clearest historical records of this in action is the story of the English peppered moths in the 1850s. Before the Industrial Revolution, white-winged moths thrived because they could camouflage against light-colored lichen on the trees, hiding from predators. But as industrial soot blackened the tree chunks, the white moths were easily spotted and eaten. Suddenly, a dark-colored genetic mutation became a massive survival advantage, and the population shifted to dark-winged moths within a few generations. Natural selection is a blind, automatic filter. Nature simply removes the traits that do not fit the current environment. Over millions of years, these variations stack up to create entirely new forms of life from a shared ancestor, a concept known as homology. This is visible in human arms, whale flippers, and bat wings. Despite different tasks, grabbing, swimming, flying, their internal structures are identical. All three share the same bone pattern: humerus, radius, and ulna, confirming a common evolutionary history. Darwin saw this clearly in the Galapagos Islands. This is called adaptive radiation, where a single ancestral group spreads into new habitats and adapts until they become distinct species. Modern animal diversity is built on these ancient physical blueprints, modified over millions of years to survive in new and changing habitats. As continents drifted and climates changed, dominant groups like the dinosaurs were wiped out, paving the way for the rise of mammals. Roughly 15 million years ago, primates like Dryopithecus and Ramapithecus appeared. They were hairy and walked like modern gorillas, but carried the earliest man-like features. We can track the progression by comparing these ancient skulls to modern anatomy. Jaw sizes receded and cranial capacities grew as the human brain became more complex. This path to humanity was stochastic, a process driven by random chance mutations and shifting environments, rather than a predetermined plan. Evolution is observable even today. We see it in microbes that divide fast, allowing them to rapidly mutate and develop complete resistance to antibiotics in just a few short months or years. Humanity is a single chapter in an unbroken 4 billion-year story, and the first capable of looking back to understand its own origins.